All right, the face-to-face segment between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns on this week's edition of SmackDown came and went, and, well, not a lot happened. And there has obviously been frustration with people with that, calling this sort of a lackluster segment to finish off this week's edition of SmackDown. And I can't say I completely disagree with that. There wasn't a whole lot happening here. It was really built around the idea that Roman Reigns thought that he could outsmart Cody Rhodes again, and it proved that that was not the case because Cody had his backup, just like we all kind of assumed that Roman would have his. Anytime you have the heel part of the equation, extending a one-on-one challenge to the babyface and basically saying, don't worry, none of my friends who have basically been by my side time after time after time to make sure that I am okay, they won't be there. Don't worry about it. And that was kind of the basis here, was you had Roman Reigns essentially calling Cody Rhodes an idiot. That's what this all came down to. Like, this was Roman calling Cody a complete moron. That's how he sort of signaled it when we started this promo. And things would change, of course, by the end. And I think you guys know, in the previous video, what I said was that I thought this needed to be the most important segment, perhaps the most important promo that Roman Reigns has ever cut in WWE in order to put Roman at that level of what The Rock has been, of what Cody Rhodes has been. They have been the focus over the past little bit in this entire feud, which, remember, is building towards Roman Reigns defending this prestigious championship against Cody Rhodes in the main event of WrestleMania Sunday. You can say, well, this one's always kind of the main event. This one's the WrestleMania Sunday main event has always felt like the big one, right? Like, that's the biggest match of the year for WWE. And again, there have been people who have criticized the build to this, wondering if it's been a good idea to kind of keep Roman Reigns as the sidebar in this whole thing. He feels like the side chick, not necessarily The Rock, like Cody referred to him as on Raw. And so, was that smart? I don't know, but I do think we saw here on this particular segment that we did get a significant development, and I think it could prove to be the ultimate downfall of Roman Reigns. And this is probably what Roman Reigns thinks about what I'm going to say here, is that, remember, the whole focus here is that Roman came into this seeing that Cody would agree to this whole one-on-one thing, right? Like, why would Cody agree to this? I mean, everybody's probably thinking, why would you do that? You know Roman has something up his sleeve. And Roman is so confident that he goes into this knowing that Cody just agreed to this, like, okay, what an idiot, right? And he said as much in this segment. But it's Roman just continually thinking he's going to outsmart Cody. And it's almost like Roman has gotten comfortable. He's gotten complacent because he's seen this time and time again. Every single time. If he needs the Bloodline to be there for him, they've been there for him. They found a way to help him retain the championship last year when he came that close to losing the title to Cody. So why wouldn't he sort of feel invincible here as he moves towards this match, knowing, too, that he is going to team with The Rock, and that if they win, which they're fully confident in doing, if they beat Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins on night one, they're going to get Bloodline rules, which all but officially makes it obvious to Roman Reigns that he's going to retain the title on night two because he has the Bloodline's help again. As we pointed out, though, in all these different videos, it's not as simple as Roman Reigns seems to think. There are a lot of things that we see with the tiny details they've put in that The Rock and Roman Reigns are not on the same page. The Rock may have other motivations, and there's a lot more at play here than maybe Roman Reigns wants to admit. And you did get a little of that here in this segment. You had a situation where Cody Rhodes sort of brought up The Rock, he kind of turned the tables on Roman here. Roman's asking Cody, can you really trust Seth Rollins? He did it to me, he'll do it to you. That was Roman's stance. But then you have Cody turn the tables, and like I mentioned to you guys in previous videos, they are absolutely going to go in on the tribal chief, final boss type tagline. And that's what Cody did here. He turned it on Reigns and asking, could he really trust The Rock? Could he trust his tag team partner in the same scenario, right, at WrestleMania 40 with all this stuff at stake? And so these two certainly have the most on the line. And I thought that was at least a part of this where, look, not a lot happened here. I'm not going to act like it did. But that was at least something, though, where it makes sense to now put these two who have to depend on their partners to get the match that they need the most on night two. They have to depend on two people that is fair to question, can they trust? And when Cody did that to Roman Reigns here, you got the visible sort of anger. Like, Reigns was perturbed here. He was not exactly thrilled when Cody brought that up, because you could see the wheels turning inside of Roman Reigns' mind, right? And so you see that outward sort of emotion and that response from him. And I think that sort of gives you a scenario here now where you go into this and Roman is starting to realize, okay, all these things, maybe, it's this overconfidence. He's starting to realize maybe all these things. Cody's pushing the buttons. We knew he was going to do it, questioning whether Reigns could trust The Rock. And now it's kind of that thing where it sets Reigns off in a direction where can Roman Reigns defeat Cody Rhodes if he cannot outsmart him? And if he cannot trust the people that are right beside him, can Roman Reigns actually defeat Cody Rhodes and keep the championship? And I think the overconfidence, and also at the end of this segment, Roman realizes basically the people he's shunned, right? Like we involve Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, a former member of the Bloodline. All the people that Roman has somehow cast out, throughout his career, which obviously Seth had a little bit more to do to that with the Shield than Roman Reigns did because he was the one that started this whole thing. But Jey obviously was a big part of that. Well, now they're there side with Cody Rhodes. Like the numbers are now equal. But Roman still knows that he's got The Rock in his corner. And that's what we said. The acknowledgement, the visual we got with The Rock sort of acknowledging Reigns as his tribal chief. That had that exhale. And I told you guys in that video that we did, I don't know how long it's been ago, maybe a couple weeks ago or whatever it's been now. When that happened, that put a situation in motion where now Reigns can let his guard down a little bit, right? And that's where, again, I didn't think this was the strongest segment, but I still think what you got from start to finish was that Reigns still thought that he could outsmart Cody at every turn because he had everything he needed. He had the bloodline. He knows he still has The Rock in his corner. But what happened here? Cody outsmarted him by having people there with him, making sure that Reigns didn't get the advantage. No physicality, that they can't get a one-up on Cody, right? But also, you had Cody push the Rock thing here and sort of add that question for Roman Reigns. Like, can he really trust it? And we know it's probably a question he's thought about, right? But you keep putting that pressure and you see how he reacts to it. That's what Cody did. It was the smartest move Cody could make. So now you've got Cody being able to basically stoop to Roman's level and use the same kind of stuff that Roman is using on him, and now Cody's having success. So what does Roman do now? How does he respond? And I think this is where, if we're trying to find the one thing that's going to be the downfall of the tribal chief, right? It's the fact that maybe he has gotten overconfident and realizing that if he cannot outsmart Cody, and maybe there are trust issues that are obvious between him and someone else, then that layer of doubt that they've just added to the mix, that could be one of the most interesting things they've done with Roman Reigns in a while, aside from obviously just adding to Rock into the mix. Because once again, this has been about The Rock. Like, this has been way more about The Rock than his Roman Reigns. And we pointed out the reasons why we think that's intentional, because they want The Rock to basically big brother Roman Reigns. But you'd be kidding yourself, I think, if you saw that promo segment on SmackDown and didn't feel like there was something missing. And what was missing? The Rock wasn't there. He wasn't there. He has been the one that has outshined Roman Reigns. And again, guys, that's another conversation we can have. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Within the story they're going to tell, and the one they have been telling, it may be okay, because we know they want to get to The Rock versus Roman Reigns. We also tend to think, as we've said in another video, they want to get to The Rock versus Cody Rhodes. If that's the case, it's okay, because you can eventually have Roman come all the way back around and have this triumph over The Rock. But at the same time, it is a slippery slope, because to me, as I said, I thought Reigns should have been put in a position where he was way more kind of, aggressive here and way more kind of willing to step up and take charge again. But you really didn't get that in this particular segment. And you wonder, is that purposeful, where they're playing it up as though Reigns is just, his confidence is to the point where he doesn't feel like he has to do anything. And he doesn't feel like maybe Cody is his final boss. Maybe The Rock's his final boss too, and we're just not getting there yet. So there's a lot of questions still, I think, coming out of this. And again, The Rock being the focal point, could it prove to be problematic just for this match? Once we get there, I think they're going to deliver and it's going to be fine. But I will not lie and say that, look, this is kind of a dip where you get to this part of the story and you've got to have somebody move this thing forward in a big way. And it's been a lot of talking, right? It's a lot of talk, and they're working. Look, the fans are tuning in. it's working. The ratings tell you that people are just fine with this, especially when The Rock talks. But I think this is something where WWE, we know, are creating bigger matches. And perhaps if you ranked these matches with Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, The Rock versus Roman Reigns, and The Rock versus Cody Rhodes, is Cody versus Reigns number 3 on that ranking for WWE? And the other two are ahead of it. I mean, you would have to think so based on how they're building some of this up. But that doesn't mean this isn't important. That doesn't mean that Cody finishing the story isn't important. But I think it is something where now that Cody is even the score and willing to sort of prove that he will do anything, even if it means essentially maybe going down to Roman's level to do the same thing to him, adding some of that, hey, I may tell you one thing, but I may do another. That's not what, the hero should do. But Cody knows this is his last shot. He's got to do whatever it takes, right? And so it's okay that Cody decides to outsmart Roman, knowing that everyone knew what Roman had up his sleeve. So Reigns has become predictable. He's become too confident. He's become predictable. Does he change his approach? And I think this is something where if he does not evolve, we have to see something different from Roman Reigns. We have to see him become the focus of everything again. But like I said, I don't think that's going to happen. And I also think that may be the point, is that Reigns continues to feel like secondary to everything that's going on. I would not go that far in that direction. If they decide to keep going there, I would bring this thing back around a little bit. Like I've said before, I think Reigns has to be way more aggressive here. I don't even know what the word should be, but like he has to have that extra something. And it doesn't feel like when it's just him and Cody that extra something has been there. But it may just be part of the story because of how he got away with it a year ago at WrestleMania 39. Now he thinks he's definitely going to get away with it because now he's got The Rock in his corner. And maybe that's just where they're leading us, to the eventual split between the two. We all know it's going to happen. And maybe that is where we're headed with the whole situation with The Rock and Roman Reigns. And maybe Roman Reigns has just gotten a bit too comfortable. And will that ultimately be his downfall? Is his confidence? We'll find out, because he realized at the end of this segment that Cody had basically played him just as he thought he was playing Cody. Does Roman Reigns change things 2 weeks out from WrestleMania 40? Do we see Roman take things up a notch? I hope so, because I think that is what's necessary to keep pushing this thing in the right direction as we move towards WrestleMania 40. But you guys let me know what you thought of the segment. Again, I know a lot of people out there were not pleased with it, didn't think really anything happened, and felt pretty, disappointed by it. But as I mentioned, as always, there's always things you can read into this stuff. And maybe there are things, as always, that I read into a little bit too much. But I think if you're looking at the different characters, you're looking at the different storylines, this is one where you got something. You at least got the point that Cody is on Roman's level when it comes to the mind games and all this other stuff. But can Roman take it to another level? Because I think he needs to before we get to WrestleMania 40. But there you go. There are my thoughts on how things unfolded with the face-to-face between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Always love the discussion, guys. I know we're having a lot of fun kind of looking at every segment that they do with this. Some things we may prove to be right about. Some things, many things, we'll probably prove to be wrong about. But that's the unpredictability and sort of the overall, I think, excitement with this story leading into the two big matches that will main event WrestleMania 40, Night 1 and Night 2. But always appreciate the feedback. Hit that subscribe button. New channel here. Just enjoy talking wrestling with you guys. And again, I appreciate you watching. Let me know your thoughts about the face-to-face and what is next for the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. What will his downfall be heading into WrestleMania 40? And maybe what will be his downfall after WrestleMania 40?